So with that, we will jump into it. This is being recorded. We're going to hand out the recording after this. So for those who couldn't make it, or if you want to rewatch anything. We're going to go over introductions of Josh and Sean, if they can introduce themselves as they go. And then we have some Q&A, and I've got some gift cards. So if anybody virtually in person, if you've got like a burning question about like something you do in your day-to-day and you want them to answer that, how we can use AI to automate what we're doing or making it easier, feel free to jump out. I've also got some upcoming Adobe opportunities for you guys, and then we can just mill about, do some networking afterwards. My name is Chantel. I'm one of the Minnesota chapter co-leaders. I work for Leadus. We're a marketing automation consultancy. My co-leader, Kelsey, is virtual. She is one of the unfortunate COVID-affected people today. So you'll see emails from us in the future for future meetings. All right, with that, Sean, I'll let you take it away.
Excellent. Hey guys, Sean Royer. I do a lot of consulting on the marketing automation side as well as AI and trying to figure out how to leverage it for the past 15 years. Been an agency guy, really helping clients get up and running on their technology stack. Excited to be here, and hopefully you guys have some questions. Try to make it somewhat interactive as we go. With that, I'll let Josh do it.
My name is Josh Arrington. I am partner and CTO at Kapturall. We are a Marketo specific agency based in Madrid. I've been working with Marketo for since the very beginning, since the start. So excited to integrate AI. The last year and a half, 2 years has been doing a lot with incorporating AI into Marketo, into our programs, into our design flows. So good. Happy to be here.
Hopefully that works and everybody can see it. If you can, just put it in the chat. And I pre-apologize for all the transitions in these slides. They were cool at once and now they're a lot, but we're going to be talking about the unleashing the AI revolution. On our agenda, I already did my intro. We want to talk about what is artificial intelligence, business benefits, how we can practically use these things for marketing purposes. I have a couple AI tools that I've enjoyed using. We'll go over those, and then I'm going to hand it over to Josh, and he's going to get into the Marketo specific use cases. And I know we're starting a little late. I'm going to go over these pretty quickly, but just an understanding of AI and the history. Artificial intelligence, as you can see here, is computer science that deals with the creation of intelligent machines that can perform tasks, visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and language translation. And really, when we start to think about this, why have we just all of a sudden started talking about AI? Even though it's been around for a long time, I have a slide that'll sum that up. But we're talking about narrow AI versus general AI. When we talk about generative AI, the difference is that we can now use a lot of different data points. It's available to the mass public, and we're able to leverage these data sets. So you can see narrow AI is really built to do very specific tasks. We've had this in our phones, Siri, any of our assistants. If you're going on Netflix, the recommendations, those are examples. And then when we get into the general or generative AI, we can do a lot more with it based off of the data. I'm going to leave it there and really get into the history, because I think this is interesting to sort of think about what since March, it's been all the buzz. If we were to look at the Google Trends, it blew up, right? But so in 1950 is when the Turing test was created, which means how do we know that machines can think like humans? And I'm not going to go through all of this, but there are some very interesting points. In 1997, IBM was able to create and beat a chess champion at the time. In 2016, Microsoft Tay, that came out. If you're around during that, you saw there was a lot of controversy based off the output that it was putting out. So fast forward to today, and we have ChatGPT released to the public earlier this year. And I don't even, yeah, you see 1 million within 5 days. It far surpassed that very quickly. So there's a ton of benefits for how businesses can leverage AI, increase efficiencies, data analysis, productivity. We can use it to help aid in the labor shortages. And then for businesses, increase those profit margins. And as a stat, AI market is projected a staggering 407 billion by 2027. This stat is probably outdated since it was pulled last week, just understanding the growth potential that we're dealing with. I didn't make this slide. This is from Constellation, but I thought it was a good representation of where we are going and how we can actually leverage it. And really what I want to point out here is you've got models, and then you've got how you are enabling that AI. So we know we have a bunch of data, and eventually we have these AI-enabled knowledge workers. So often you hear individuals, they're afraid, is AI going to take my job? Well, yeah, maybe. But what's more probable is that we are going to be working with AI. It will be driving a majority of our decisions, increasing the efficiency. So if we were able to get, one-time output, now we should be able to get a 10 to 20 output. And then on the right-hand side, all of these different strategic and tactical work that we're going to be able to do. Right now, we're in the beginning. So we see a lot of applications or tools that we can create videos, we can create images, which are great. And now a lot of folks are playing with AI agents, which is where we are going to be able to automate a lot. And I sort of get into this later on. But if you imagine that you would have an agent that is performing your task, but you won't have just one agent, you'll have a multitude of agents doing and executing specific functions of your job, and you're there helping to steer it in the right direction. This is a long list, and this isn't coming across great on the presentation, but for marketers, what can we use it for? It's whatever you can think and create is going to help you do your job. So, just the high level chatbots, which we're already using, but now we can make them smarter, right? We can put together a chatbot with a prompt. We can pull in our knowledge base articles, social media campaigns, data analysis. If you have a spreadsheet, you're not a data analyst, you can leverage ChatGPT, upload that, and ask it any type of question. We've got video creation, and I'm going to skip through these. I've got a couple of examples. The agents are what I was just talking about. Some agents that exist today are AutoGPT, BabyGPT, and Cognisys. I'm going to show you Cognisys, but essentially what these agents do is they allow you to give it an instruction, and then it will create its own task, and then it will talk to itself and reason and continuing to iterate upon those. And this is available and accessible to everybody right now. These are just a couple of my favorite tools that I use almost on a daily basis that I wanted to point out. Are you guys using ChatGPT right now? Yeah? No? Okay. So ChatGPT, Canva, which is an obvious one, but I wanted to point this out from the design. That you are able to put in the prompt, you can put in a design, and then it will output whatever you would like. They have a plug-in with ChatGPT, so you can give it a prompt, and then it will create that presentation. I'd love to be able to tell you that I created all of this with AI. It was about 70% AI, 25% me. Midjourney, DALL-E, these are the tools where you give prompts to images, and it will output the image. Cognisys, which I'm going to show you next, is the agent. And then what you can't see here is a tool called DID. I'm not sure why this isn't playing, but this is a bot. you can go on the ID right now, you upload and pick an avatar, or you can leverage your own avatar, upload a script, and within minutes, you'll have a bot, an avatar that is creating a video. You can load it on your website. Any knowledge that you give it, it will respond. I have some ChatGPT tips before we move on. So you said a majority of you are using ChatGPT or other. All right, cool. So a couple things that if you haven't already done it, the custom instructions. Have you guys done custom instructions? Yeah, great. If you haven't, go into the settings. You can add custom instructions, and you can tell it how do you want it to respond. Over here on the right-hand side, which may be difficult, it says, how would you like ChatGPT to know, or what would you like it to know about you? And then the second is, how would you like ChatGPT to reply? So how you want it to reply, if you want it to reply in a Ryan Reynolds voice, if you want it to reply sarcastically, I said I prefer it to be on the casual side of professional mixed with a little humor every now and again. And I wanted it to call me Royer, my last name, my friends call me. And it's made the experience all that much better. Some other practical use cases that you can give here is if you use EOS within your business, you can tell it that you use the EOS framework and you want it to leverage that. So anytime then you go and ask it a question, it will reference these instructions. And give it any of your business goals. They finally brought back on Bing browsing just the other day. So now ChatGPT does again have access to the internet, where before it only had access up to its training data within 2021. And then the leveraging the plugins. I'm giving a prompt example. There's a bunch of different examples. For time's sake, I'll pass over it. I've got a resource for you. This is just one example of a plugin that I use quite frequently. The plugin is called Diagram Show Me. And here I just asked it, create a diagram that represents all the functions of a marketing strategy. You can ask whatever you like. You see it's working, and then it gives you an output. From this output, you're now able to edit it. So you can get much more creative with these things. But as marketers, we often are creating a lot of diagrams, flowcharts, and this has cut down my time significantly. It also gives you a link to edit it if you don't like the output. There are hundreds of different plugins in the ecosystem, but that's one of my favorites. So this is, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. I gave it the prompt, analyze the past 3 news articles referencing Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and provide a detailed recap and make it funny. This is just showing that it can go out. My wife is obsessed with this recent development. I don't know if you guys have followed it, but the interesting thing is that his sales has spiked 400%. Just, I guess that's the Swiftie effect. I don't know. But anyways, example that it can now browse again. Here's an example of Cognizes. So you go into Cognizes. Here I said generate a list of 50 unique content ideas and blogs in the health and wellness niche, focusing on trending topics and keywords. Now, I wasn't able to get the whole video in here, but if you go to Cognizes, build your profile, what you can see is that it is thinking. It is reasoning. On the right-hand side, it's creating its tasks. So now it's generating, here are the trends, and then it would continue to build out your content calendar. So you can give it very detailed instructions, and then you can edit the task over on the right. And the really cool thing is you can see that it's sourcing its references, right? Which has been a big issue with AI, where it will hallucinate and provide things that may not be accurate or true. Here we can get the sources. So I cut the video off here, but the next it would have gone and found keywords and then populated additional. So this is just Cognizes AI. There's a free version. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Josh so we can dig into more of this Marketo specific.
Thank you, Sean. I have to get rid of this slide, so go to the next one. So picking up from what Sean has covered, I want to get a little more specific about what we can do with AI inside of Marketo and inside of our Marketo Smart Campaigns. There are many use cases, but we're going to cover 3 here. First is intelligent segmentation. So getting the AI models to organize complex and messy data for us into neat segments. Next is hyper-personalization. So going beyond just using tokens and emails and campaigns and actually getting the AI to use its creativity and come up with really personal, human-sounding messaging. And finally, we're going to go into some advanced techniques for getting the AI models specifically tailored for our needs and our company to get it to do some more interesting things. In this case, AI-driven lead qualification. So just a preface, self-service flow steps, for anyone who's not familiar, is a feature that Adobe or Marketo released last year, which allows us to expand what we can do inside of our smart campaigns. So where you have change data value or add to program or change lead score, now we can create our own actions that can do basically whatever we want it to do. In this case, I'm going to use it to communicate with OpenAI. So to send a prompt to OpenAI and get a response back. And yeah, I can go.
Plug it in. I don't want it to die.
Oh, yes, that's important.
It's going to reach.
Sorry, everyone, battery issues.
Sorry, I just saw the battery status.
There we go. All right, problem solved. So the first example I'm going to cover is intelligent segmentation. These AI models do a fantastic job of taking messy and complicated data and sorting it into neatly organized groups. And for our case, segments is where we're going to use that. Now, you can use this for any type of data, but in our example, I'm going to go use it to sort all the job titles into 12 job function segments and create segmentation based on that. Now, imagine you want to run campaigns, targeted campaigns based on job titles, but in your database, all you have are job function. But in your database, all you have are job titles, hundreds of thousands of job titles that are not easily organized. This is, we can have AI do that for us. Here you can see I've already created the segmentation. I have my 12 segments, but you can see all of my leads are in the default section. And that's because the rules for these segments are simple. They're just job role matches the name of the segment. However, we don't have job roles right now. We just have job titles. So we're going to use AI to populate that job role. And here you see a list of the data. And again, we have job titles, but no job roles. So let's see how we use OpenAI to do this. Here in our smart campaign for the smart list, we just have one filter, and that is that job title is not empty. As long as we have something that we can pass to the AI model, then we're good to go. So that person will qualify for our smart campaign. In the flow, this is where we have our self-service flow step. It's going to call OpenAI, and we can send the prompt. For the prompt, we're just going to be very clear with the model, return only the category without any additional information, because the ChatGPT model can be very chatty and give a lot of additional information, so we want to cut that out. And then categorize the job title, and here we use the leads job title token into one of the following categories, and we give it the specific categories we want it to use. And inside our flow step, we have a return field of lead role, which tells it once you come up with the category, put it into the lead role field. So that's where we'll look for it. We're going to use a temperature of 0. You can think of temperature as the creativity level of the model. In this case, this task doesn't take any creativity. We're just asking it to sort things. So 0 works for this. So that's it. We're ready to run it. Depending on how many leads you're processing, it could take a while. I ran it with about 1,000 and it took a couple minutes. So still pretty quick. And once it's run, we can look back at our results. You can see that all of the job roles have been populated and they match the categories from our segmentation. And likewise, if we look at our segmentation, we see that everyone's moved out of defaults and into the proper segmentation. So now we can go ahead and launch our campaigns. We can use dynamic content and use this segmentation. If you wanted to do this manually, you would have had to spend hours creating manual rules for these segments lists, the smart lists for these segments. Like lead job title has this word in it, but doesn't have this word. And even at the end, you'd still have leads that fell through the cracks because getting those rules perfect is very difficult. This was a couple minutes and AI did it all for us. The next example, as I said, is hyper-personalization with OpenAI. This is where we really get to see the creative power of these large language models. So imagine you have, this was supposed to be animated, but imagine you have a hotel on the island of Ibiza and you want to create really personalized booking confirmation emails when people book at your hotel. Now, in the past, typically you would just use tokens. You would just use hello, first name, last name. We can't wait to welcome you on booking date token, which comes off really cold and robotic. I mean, it works, people expect that, but if in hospitality, you really want something warm and welcoming. So ironically enough, the most powerful way we have to make it sound human is to use AI. So that's what we're going to do here. Here we have the form that we're going to use. This is just a Marketo form. You may be getting the data from an external booking system. It doesn't really matter as long as the data is in Marketo, so you can send it to OpenAI. You're good. But you can see the data we're getting from the form is the dates of the stay, the number of guests, the room type, the reason for travel, and just to throw the model a curveball, we're going to leave an open additional request field and see how it handles that. In our smart campaign, again, we just have one trigger, and that is when someone fills out the form, trigger this process. And on the flow side, again, we have to see our self-service flow step to call OpenAI, and we have our prompt. In the prompt, we're going to do a little more complicated. We're going to tell the AI what we want. Based on the below booking information, create a confirmation email, personalize it for the type of stay that it is. We pass in all of the tokens that we get from the form fill out, so it has that data. Then we're going to use a temperature of 50, since this is a little more of a creative task. We want the model to take some creative license and make it personalized. And then this time we're going to use the additional context field. This is just additional information you want the model to know. So I'm going to use a program token here just because it's a lot of data. But in this, I'm going to send a list of amenities, all the amenities that are available at the hotel information, the address, the phone numbers, all of that, the concierge details, the name, phone number, contact information as well. And then finally, I'm going to send an outline for how I want this confirmation email to be structured. So let's take a closer look at that data. Here you can see the additional context for, like I said, the concierge details, a list of hotel amenities and hotel details. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want to list all of these hotel amenities in a booking confirmation. First of all, it's impersonal, and if the person wanted to look up the information on your website, they could just go to the website. It doesn't really benefit them to include that. Next, the booking outline. And here we really tell the AI what we expect to get out of this. The first paragraph is just a personalized welcome email. Saying, welcome, we can't wait to host you. The second one, here's where we ask the AI, describe the amenities that fit this person's booking specifically. And the third paragraph, we ask the model to be aware of location and time. So we're giving it knows it's in the island of Ibiza. It gets the date of the booking, and we ask it, okay, tell it what's going on in the island that time, what's the weather like. And then in the fourth paragraph, we rely on the AI to make a judgment call based to analyze the additional requests that were sent. And if it doesn't seem extreme, it seems reasonable, then say that they'll be taken care of, and then finally just, can't wait to see you. So let's take a look at some examples of what this generates. The first one, family vacation in September. And right out of the gate, you can see that the AI got it. It personalized this for a family, saying Ibiza is a great place to have your family vacation, points out all the amenities that a family would be appropriate for a family, saying, the children's pool, a designated play area, and saying, you know what, you're going to have a great time with your family, you're going to create memories. The additional request that I put in for this one is to have sunscreen in the room. It seems like a reasonable request, so it says, hey, we'll take care of it. Obviously, you probably want a real person monitoring these emails and making sure someone follows through on them, but the email itself is really taken care of. Next, I did a business trip in March, and you can see that the tone completely changes. I recognize this is for business, talks about the business center, all of the amenities that would make it productive, high-speed Wi-Fi, all of that. So completely night and day, but still following that structure that we gave it. And just one final example, a romantic getaway in June. So no more talks about Wi-Fi or business center. Now we're talking about couples spa treatments, romantic dinner packages, walks on the beach, things like that. So it gets it. And the messages are really personalized for what the booking is. And it just took a few, lines to prompt it to get this kind of output. So those two examples are how to use OpenAI in just the general model. And this uses OpenAI, but you could also connect it with Google Bard. You could use Adobe Sensei or any other service you wanted. Now, what we can do is there are a couple ways we can really tailor these models for our own purposes and get them to know more about what we do, what our industry, our products, and how we want their response to come back. The first thing we can do is fine tuning, which is giving the model additional information. And that consists of giving it example prompts and example responses. What's great about that is not only do you give it more information than it had originally, it doesn't know anything about your company, but you can give it more information about your industry and everything. And also you get to tell it how you want the response back. So in our hotel example, if you had years and years of booking confirmations that someone hand wrote, you could feed that into the system. So not only would it be customized and personalized for that booking, it would sound like you because it would have so much to go from. And the other way we expand these models is through retrieval augmented generation, which is connecting the model to outside resources. Sean talked about connecting it to the web, but you could also connect it to resources specific for your company. If you, for example, in our hotels demo, if you had a calendar of events that was always updated, you could connect it to that calendar of events and get those specific events or those dates of the booking in the confirmation email. Or if you could connect it to a weather service and get the actual forecast for those dates and share that with inside the booking confirmation. This is also good for a recommendation engine or an FAQ response. So one of the things that we've used it for is for AI lead qualification. And that consists of, this slide was not updated, but sorry, the activity log should be in retrieval. So say you want to create or have an AI review and take action on your open leads on a regular basis, once a week, once a day, or when they take a specific action. You can create an agent specific for that. Start off by fine-tuning an existing model. Show it all of your customers as qualified examples. Okay, these are the demographic and firmographic data of our customers that actually bought. This is their activity log at the time that they bought, and feed that into it and say, these are qualified examples. Then you can show it examples of competitors or people who would never buy based on title or firmographic data and say, these are disqualified. And then, so now you've pre-trained the model, you've fine-tuned the model, and then you can give it access to additional information through retrieval. So you can let it access the Marketo API and look up the lead's activity log, so it sees everything that that lead's done. You give it an industry information, a list of competitors, your ideal customer profile, whatever you need to have it make the best decision. And then you just run it. So if it notices someone is constantly on job postings, it's going to notice that, okay, that's not a lead, that probably needs to be routed to HR. So you route it to HR. If it notices, okay, this person took a couple actions but hasn't done much, it's going to put it in nurture. It can look at specific pages that they're visiting and put it in nurture specific for the products that they're interested in. If it notices competitor, disqualified. And then when it comes to qualification, I don't know if we have this slide, yeah. You can go beyond just qualifying the lead and actually have it write a summary. So it knows all the activity that lead did, knows the forms they filled out, the events they attended, all of that, so that your salesperson doesn't just get a lead that appears in their CRM. They actually get a personalized note from the AI saying, hey, a score of 92, we're qualifying this lead. These are the reasons I've qualified this lead. This is what they've done. A summary of, hey, they're interested in these products. You should talk to them about that. So they have a place to jump off from. And yeah, I think that's it for that. And we can go to the Q&A.
All right, thank you. Hopefully everyone found at least something useful here. And if it's not directly applicable to what you do, at least kind of gets your brain turning about AI in general. So if you've got any questions about what Josh and Sean talked about today, we can start there. And this is for the virtual group as well. If you've got any questions, feel free to jump in, turn your mic on, or hop in the chat.
I have a question. Might sound silly. Are these features for the chat GPT available? I looked in the flow and I can't find them.
So you would have to install it. We have, we can include it in a follow-up email, but the component is available as an open beta for anyone who wants to use it. Okay. You'd have to install it, and there's instructions on how to install as well.
Yeah, I've got a really robust follow-up, so keep an eye out for the follow-up email. I'll have tons of links and resources for you, and in there will be like a from infancy guide of how to make all this work for you. You mentioned chatbots. How long would it take for a smart chatbot to learn the company's products and/or support topics to be able to navigate conversation? How does it work if you need to explain it for dummies, aka me? I'm super new to this.
There are platforms that can do it in like an hour or so, or even less if you have all the data available. So if you wanted it quickly, you could do it very quickly and have, you know, a minimal viable product instantly, basically. Obviously, you want to improve that over time, see where it makes mistakes and add additional resources or additional fine tuning to get it to really give better answers, but you could do it fairly quickly. I don't know if you know any platforms. That
yeah, it's just, I do off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember the name, but yeah, as fast as you can plug in your knowledge base, have it scan your website, you can have a bot that's answering for you, yeah, within an hour or less. I have a whole database. I'll send over in the follow-up some of the tools that allow you to do this.
One thing we use is Flowwise, which allows you to kind of build out, connect it to whatever AI model you want, give it additional, like any text documents you want. So if you want to connect it to an FAQ or a database, you can do that. And then it builds the chatbot right there, which is great.
Cool. Got a typer.
Similar to the job role example, are there other tools to validate or update contacts and leads? There have been a lot of job changes in our target audience. Yes, I'm not sure you would need AI to do that. You could use some external service, Clearbit, or something that has a lookup to LinkedIn or something to detect those changes, and then maybe you want to. You could use an AI to kind of clean it up, but yeah.
Tim, we can follow up with you on that too. Keep your hand there.
For customizing those settings, to be more specific to your business, is that, I don't think you do that in settings, right? Or is that
In ChatGPT, yeah, it's so down here on the bottom, oh, over here on the bottom left-hand side, you've got your settings, and then if you come up to custom instructions, that's where you can go ahead and add information there. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, adding, if you sell products or services, or another example I've seen is if you, like I said, if you use a specific framework within your business, or if you're trying to get whatever your goals are, so you're specific, you could say, hey, here's my product, here's my service, my specific role is marketing. That you can sort of get into that. I said I've always wanted to be a developer. Just you can plug in whatever you want, and then it's going to output based off of what you put in here. So like Josh was saying earlier, you're sort of fine tuning. There's much more sophisticated ways to do this, but this is the user-friendly way that you just go in, plug it, and then it'll start responding.
This is just where you might want to get a little careful about what information you feed the bot, just because, proprietary company information, just watch what you're putting.
If you multiple companies, can you have that for different companies that you work with, or is it just based off of one?
So yeah, I mean, you'd have to theoretically have multiple versions. If you have Pro, so if you have Pro, first of all, you can go into your settings and tell it that you do not want your data to train the model. That is, if you have the Pro. So make sure to turn that on if you don't want it to send any of that data there. 2, if you have an enterprise version, I haven't played around with it. I don't know if you can have different sort of profiles, but
if you train models,
if
you do the fine tuning, you can create a model for any topic or any company you want, and then instead of calling in the API, calling GPT-4, you call your own GPT model.
Security questions. Ooh. That's a whole can of worms. Anything sort of broadly to talk about?
Self-service post-ups are free. It's just part of the platform. There's no additional cost. It would create, you would need a developer to create it. There are some services that make it super simple, like drag and drop. Workato is one that we use for rapid prototyping, and they have a built-in feature to create self-service post-ups, which is great.
And then do we want to address the security? Yeah, I mean, for the security, it depends on the tools that you're using. If you're using an open source or tool, then ChatGPT, yes, you're sending its data. You have the option in the Pro version to turn that off. In the enterprise version, there's a lot more security features. But yeah, that's where Amazon developers were leveraging ChatGPT for coding. And the concern is that code, well, it may have been IP to Amazon. Now it is in their training model. Of course, since then they've launched the enterprise version, which gives you more control. And then the second option, as Josh mentioned, is yes, you develop your own model, you're hosting it, and you're not necessarily exposing that and training.
And also just being conscious of it when you create your prompts. You can get a lot of the functionality out of this without introducing any personal information. So skipping the personal information and just giving it what it needs to know is best practice.
Does anybody have a use case they want to solve right now with AI? What was your slogan? Can you do anything on the fly with AI?
Anything? Yeah, that's great. I'm not sure. Yeah. Is market. Oh, yeah. Thank you. The sample use cases are great. Thanks. Any other questions?
Nothing meets all, huh?
Someone put in when they were registering, how long until you can just type into a prompt and the AI can generate smart campaigns for you? And I thought that was a really interesting question. Actually, I started looking into it, and the limitations not on the AI side, the limitations on the Marketo side. In the API, you can clone smart campaigns, you can create smart campaigns, but you can't add filters and flow steps with the API. So if you had a really good center of excellence, you could teach the AI to clone the specific programs that it needs. But yeah, there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Wild.
And there are tools out there that are doing this now.
Yeah.
So it's there.
So how do you test your output? So like how you change the temperature or something? How do you test what it's going to say to someone?
You can test it through that flow step, but that takes, if you run the smart campaign and everything, it takes time. To get a quick iteration, I just go into ChatGPT and I tell it, you can use a parameter for temperature in your prompts, and it'll do the same thing.
Okay.
Can you set it up so that you can proofread before it sends?
I'm sure you could set something up. Off the top of my head, I haven't done that, but yeah, definitely you would want to test the prompts ahead of time with different variables and different directions to make sure not only are you getting accurate message, but it's in the format that you're expecting. So definitely test.
Yeah, but also address that last question.
Oh, there's a few in the Q&A bubble.
Oh.
Next to chat. Let's address this one and then we can hop over there.
Sure. Validate the results and show it's been generated as good quality. Spot check. Yeah, this was the question that was just asked. You could set up some sort of flow where there's an approval process, but that could get complicated. But yeah, spot check and test a lot of different examples ahead of time.
Talked through this one already.
I have a question. Is ChatGPT content current? Like, how far back does it go? Because I thought it went back several years and only pulled information, but does it pull in like most recent information?
The
Because you guys have talked
GPT,
about Taylor Swift and, that obviously just happened. So does it?
It's still cut off. The training models right now are still cut off to 2021.
Okay.
The difference is now we can use the Bing plugin where it has access to.
Oh, okay.
So
you have to install that Bing plugin, or is it something you install, or?
So if you're using